Story of the Sodder family disappearance. Christmas Eve, 1945. A quiet town in West Virginia is filled with holiday cheer. But for the Sodder family, this night would soon become a haunting mystery. It was the perfect family gathering. George and Jenny Sodder, together with their 9 children, celebrated Christmas in their cozy, 2-story home. As the evening grew late, some of the children went to bed, while others stayed up, too excited for sleep. No one could imagine that this joyful night would be their last together. Then, in the middle of the night, a mother's instinct woke Jenny. She heard a strange noise on the roof, something that sounded like a heavy thud followed by a rolling sound. Moments later, the smell of smoke filled the air. Racing downstairs, Jenny found flames spreading from George's office, engulfing the house faster than anyone could react. George and Jenny managed to get 4 of their children out, but 5 of them were still trapped inside. Desperately, George tried to save his children, but every attempt was met with one chilling obstacle after another. The phone line was cut, the ladder was missing, and his trucks, his only chance to break through the walls, suddenly wouldn't start. It was as if someone or something was stopping him at every turn. As the flames died down, investigators searched the rubble. But there was something odd. There were no remains, no traces of the missing children. Experts claimed that even a blaze that intense couldn't completely destroy bones. And that was just the beginning. In the days following the fire, reports surfaced of people seeing children resembling the Sodders, children in strange cars, children at a hotel. Rumors spread. George Sodder was known for his outspoken opposition to Mussolini's regime, raising suspicions that the fire could have been a sinister retaliation. But without evidence, these theories remained whispers in the dark. For years, the Sodder family clung to hope, refusing to accept their children were gone. They even received a photo in the mail years later, an image of a young man who bore an uncanny resemblance to one of their missing sons. Was he one of the lost Sodder children? The mystery only deepened. To this day, the mystery of the Sodder family fire haunts history, filled with questions that may never be answered. Was it a tragic accident? Or something far more sinister? The truth may have vanished with the flames on that fateful Christmas Eve. Story of the Flannan Isle Lighthouse Keepers. Imagine a lonely lighthouse perched on a remote island off the coast of Scotland. The year is 1900. And a chilling mystery is about to unfold. December 15th. A ship passing by notices something odd. The lighthouse isn't lit. Days pass with no word from the 3 keepers, and tension mounts. Finally, on December 26th, a crew arrives to investigate. As they step onto Flannan Isle, a strange feeling grips them. The island is silent, too silent. Joseph Moore, the assistant keeper, walks into the lighthouse, but it's empty. No sign of the men. Nothing but eerie clues left behind. Two of the keeper's coats still hang on the wall, as though they left in a hurry. An unfinished meal sits on the table, untouched, and the clocks have all stopped as if time itself froze that night. In the lighthouse logbook, Moore finds haunting entries. Severe storms, it reads, strange sounds echoing around the island. And the last chilling line, the storm is over, God is above all. But there was no storm on record. So what happened? Did a rogue wave pull them to sea? Was it an enemy attack? Or was it something beyond human understanding? To this day, the fate of the 3 lighthouse keepers remains a mystery. Their spirits, some say, still linger on Flannan Isle, haunting the lonely light that stands, forever watchful over the sea. Title: The Missing Emergency Broadcast. In the quiet winter of 1994, in the small town of Clavaton, a chilling mystery unfolded. It began with an ordinary evening and a routine emergency broadcast on the local channel, KCL5. But what aired that night was far from routine. It was something that no one could explain. Viewers were startled when their screens suddenly turned black, followed by a piercing emergency alert tone. Moments later, a message appeared on the screen. But this wasn't your usual storm warning or missing person alert. Stay indoors. Turn off your lights. Do not look at the windows. The voice behind the message was distorted, mechanical, and unsettling. Before anyone could make sense of it, the screen went dark again, but only for a moment. Suddenly, the screen displayed a chilling image of a decrepit, moonlit house. The camera seemed to move as if someone, or something, was approaching it. As the camera moved closer, faint sounds could be heard, whispers, footsteps, and then a voice. A soft, trembling voice. They're here. Don't look at them. The camera entered the house through a broken door. The walls were covered in strange markings, scrawled words like run and no escape. Then it stopped. In the corner of a dark room, a figure sat, motionless, head down, hands covering its face. The voice returned, but this time, it was calm, too calm. If you're watching this, it's too late. The screen went black, and the broadcast ended. The next morning, authorities discovered that the house from the broadcast was real. Inside, they found an old camera, still recording, and cryptic symbols drawn across the walls. But the most terrifying discovery? Every person who watched the broadcast reported strange phenomena. Footsteps outside their homes at night, whispers in the dark, and shadowy figures lurking just beyond their windows. The mystery of KCL5 remains unsolved. The tapes are said to be lost, or perhaps hidden, but legend has it. If you ever hear an emergency alert that says, "Stay indoors, turn off your lights, and don't look at the windows," heed the warning. Because once they've seen you, there's no escape. The mystery of the woman from the Seine. Paris, the city of lights, romance, and mystery. But not all of its secrets are written in poetry or whispered in moonlit streets. Some are drowned in darkness, like the story of the woman from the Seine. In the late 19th century, on a calm morning, the serene flow of the River Seine was disrupted by a grim discovery. The lifeless body of a young woman floated near Pont Neuf, her face frozen in a hauntingly serene expression. No name, no identity, just a mystery waiting to be unraveled. She appeared to be in her early 20s, her face delicate, her expression almost peaceful. But why was she there? How did she meet her tragic fate? The investigators searched for answers, but the body revealed no signs of violence. Was it an accident? Suicide? Or perhaps murder? And then there was the smile. That faint, enigmatic smile on her face. So calm, so unnatural. It was as if she knew something that the rest of the world could never comprehend. Desperate for answers, the authorities publicized her image across Paris, hoping someone would recognize her. But no one came forward. The city whispered tales of forbidden love, betrayal, and sorrow. Yet, no one could piece together her story. To preserve her likeness, a death mask was cast, capturing her beauty and mystery for eternity. This mask, known as L'Inconnu de la Seine, soon became an icon, immortalized in art, literature, and even science. Decades later, her serene face inspired the design of the CPR dummy, Resusci, and making her the silent savior of countless lives. Her identity remains unknown, but her impact timeless. Who was she? A lover? A victim? A forgotten soul, drifting between life and legend? Perhaps we'll never know. But one thing is certain. The woman from the Seine will forever haunt the depths of Parisian history. Some mysteries are never meant to be solved. Story of the Iron Man mystery. In the dead of night, under a shroud of secrecy, a bizarre figure emerges, a man encased in iron. No name, no face, only questions. This is the tale of the Iron Man mystery. It all began decades ago when villagers in a remote town reported seeing a strange figure roaming the woods, covered entirely in iron plates. His movements were slow, deliberate, haunting. Who was he? And why was he there? Some said he was a recluse, a blacksmith who lost his mind after a tragic fire. Others whispered he was a cursed soul, forced to wear iron to atone for an unspeakable sin. But the truth was far more chilling. Witnesses claimed the Iron Man was invincible. Arrows bounced off him, blades shattered on his armor. He was a ghostly guardian, or perhaps a vengeful spirit. The townspeople lived in fear, avoiding the woods at all costs. Yet, stories of his appearance spread far and wide. A traveling historian sought to uncover the truth, but he vanished, leaving only his journal behind. The journal described an encounter with glowing eyes behind the iron mask and a deep, guttural voice warning of danger. But the historian's notes ended abruptly. His fate, like the Iron Man, a mystery. Was the Iron Man a mere man, a myth, or something beyond comprehension? To this day, his legend lingers in the whispers of the wind and the shadows of the forest. Some say he still roams, watching, waiting, perhaps for vengeance or redemption. The Iron Man mystery remains an enigma etched in fear. And sometimes, legends are more real than we dare to believe. Have you ever heard of Damer Street? In a small, forgotten town surrounded by a dense forest, lies this ordinary-looking street by day, but after sunset, it transforms into something entirely different. Legend has it that this street harbors a sinister secret, a shadow that roams its length in search of something or someone. In the early 1900s, a mysterious family lived in a grand house right in the middle of Damer Street. One fateful night, the entire family vanished without a trace. No bodies, no clues, just an eerie silence that enveloped the house. Since then, the locals have spoken of strange occurrences, soft whispers in the wind, the rustling of unseen footsteps, and, most chilling of all, the shadow. They call it the shadow of Damara, a dark, faceless figure that emerges on moonless nights. Those who cross its path are said to meet a terrible fate. One winter night, a daring young man named Kamal decided to confront the legend. Armed with a flashlight and a camera, he ventured into Damara Street, determined to prove that the tales were nothing but folklore. But the moment he stepped into the street, he knew something was wrong. The air was heavy, unnaturally cold. The towering trees seemed to shift as though alive, their shadows dancing across the cracked pavement. As Kamal walked, he heard faint footsteps behind him. He spun around, only to find emptiness. The sound grew louder, closer, but still, no one was there. Finally, he reached the house, the infamous house where the family had disappeared. Its windows were shattered, its walls crumbling, yet it loomed menacingly. Kamal hesitated before pushing open the creaking door. Inside, darkness swallowed him whole. His flashlight's beam flickered, revealing strange symbols etched into the walls. Then, he felt it. A cold hand brushed against his shoulder. He turned. Nothing. But then, from the corner of his eye, he saw it, a shadow. It rose from the floor, stretching unnaturally, its form human-like but grotesquely distorted. "Who are you?" Kamal whispered. The shadow didn't answer. Instead, it moved closer, its formless face leaning in as if to study him. A deep, guttural voice echoed through the room. "You should not have come." Panic overtook Kamal. He bolted toward the door, but it wouldn't budge. He smashed a window and leapt into the cold night air, running as fast as his legs could carry him. He escaped the house, but the shadow had already marked him. Kamal returned home, but he was never the same. He spoke of feeling watched, of hearing whispers in the dark. His friends noticed him muttering to himself, his eyes sunken with fear. And then, one fateful night, Kamal was found dead in his room. On the wall, written in his own blood, were the chilling words, "The shadow of Damara is coming." So, would you dare walk down Damara Street? The Mystery of D.B. Cooper. On a chilly November night in 1971, a man boarded a plane in Portland, Oregon. He looked like any ordinary businessman. Dark suit, black tie, and a briefcase in hand. But this man was no ordinary passenger. He would soon become one of the most infamous criminals in U.S. history, D.B. Cooper. Shortly after takeoff, he handed the flight attendant a note. At first, she thought it was just a flirtatious gesture. But then, he whispered, "Miss, you should read the note. I have a bomb." His demands were simple, yet shocking. He wanted $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, and a refueled plane waiting in Seattle. If not, he'd blow up the plane. But here's the strange part. He was calm, polite, even. No hint of fear, no trace of nervousness. While the authorities scrambled to meet his demands, Cooper sat back, ordered a drink, and waited. When they landed in Seattle, the authorities handed over the cash and parachutes, exactly as he'd asked. He released the passengers, but kept the flight crew on board. Then, he ordered the pilot to take off, heading south, flying low and slow. Somewhere over the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest, D.B. Cooper made his move. He opened the rear door, strapped on a parachute, and jumped into the dark, cold night, disappearing without a trace. When the plane landed, Cooper was gone. A manhunt unlike any other began, covering miles of thick forest. But despite endless searches, they found nothing. No trace of him. No parachute. Not a single clue. It was as if D.B. Cooper had vanished into thin air. Years later, a small boy found a bundle of cash buried near the Columbia River. The serial numbers matched the ransom, but how it got there? No one knows. Some say Cooper didn't survive the jump. Others believe he escaped, changed his identity, and lived out his days in secret. Who was D.B. Cooper? Was he a criminal mastermind, or just incredibly lucky? The truth remains hidden. And after all these years, one question haunts us still. Where is D.B. Cooper? The Cry of the Forest, New Jersey. In the heart of New Jersey lies a forest shrouded in mystery and fear, the Pine Barrens. Known for its dense trees and chilling legends, this forest has birthed tales that haunt even the bravest of souls. Among these legends is one that stands out, the Cry of the Forest. They say that when night falls, a bone-chilling scream echoes through the trees, a sound so human, so agonizing, that it freezes anyone who hears it in their tracks. But this is no ordinary scream. It's a call from the past, a relic of a curse that has haunted the Pine Barrens for centuries. The story begins in the 1700s with a family known as the Quincy's. The Quincy's were reclusive, living deep within the forest in a small, weathered cabin. Locals whispered about their strange behavior, but no one dared approach them. According to legend, the family's youngest child was born disfigured, a twisted result of an unknown curse. His cries were unnatural, piercing the night like a blade through silence. The family hid him from the world, ashamed and terrified of what they believed was a sign of divine punishment. One stormy night, the cries stopped. Neighbors later reported hearing one final, blood-curdling scream that shook the forest to its core. By morning, the child was gone, vanished into the depths of the woods. From that night onward, the screaming began, echoing not from the cabin, but from the heart of the forest itself. Over the years, countless reports have surfaced, eerie sounds. Locals speak of hearing cries that seem too human to be animals, too mournful to be natural, ghostly apparitions. Some have claimed to see the shadowy figure of a small child darting between the trees, vanishing as quickly as it appears. Disappearances. The forest has a dark history of people entering and never returning, their last known location marked by the haunting cry. Skeptics attribute these tales to wild animals or the wind, but believers know better. The Pine Barrens is a place of secrets where reality and the supernatural blur. The locals have a warning. If you hear the scream, do not follow it. They say it's not just a sound. It's a lure, a trap set by the forest itself. Those who go searching for the source of the cry are never seen again. So, if you ever find yourself wandering through the Pine Barrens at night, remember, some legends are better left undiscovered. Because the cry of the forest? It's not calling for help, it's calling for you. What would you do if you heard it? Would you run? Or would you listen? The ghost of Notre Dame Cathedral, Paris, the city of light, is known for its breathtaking beauty, rich history, and vibrant culture. But hidden in its shadows lies a darker, more chilling tale, one that still haunts the famous Notre Dame Cathedral to this day. The story begins in 1882, when a night watchman working at Notre Dame met a tragic and unexplained end. Late one evening, he was found lifeless in the northern tower. His face was frozen in a mask of sheer terror, yet no signs of struggle or injury were found. The mystery of his death left everyone baffled. Soon after his death, strange occurrences began to plague the cathedral. Visitors reported hearing whispers and faint screams echoing from the bell towers late at night. Shadows flickered across the grand walls, moving in ways that defied logic. Some claimed to feel an icy hand brush against their shoulders, though no one was there. One of the most terrifying accounts came from a little girl visiting with her family. She described seeing a man standing by one of the high windows. His form was faint, almost transparent. As she stared, the figure turned to her and whispered, "Leave! This place is not safe." Her parents, puzzled by her fright, dismissed her claims. But the girl remained convinced she had seen the ghost of the watchman. Even today, some believe his restless spirit lingers, watching over the cathedral, or perhaps trapped in its stone walls, unable to find peace. Late at night, when the streets of Paris fall silent, a faint, sorrowful whisper might just echo through the shadows of Notre Dame. Is it the wind, or something else? So, the next time you visit Paris and gaze upon the majestic Notre Dame Cathedral, take a moment to listen. You may just hear the ghostly echoes of a mystery that will never be solved. Paris may be the city of light, but even light cannot banish all the shadows. Some stories are stranger than fiction, and some places seem cursed by something beyond our understanding. The story of Elisa Lam is one of the most terrifying tales that has stirred fear and mystery around the world, becoming fertile ground for many legends and theories. Elisa Lam was a 21-year-old Canadian student of Chinese descent who mysteriously disappeared while staying at the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles in 2013, a hotel known for its dark history and notorious reputation. This is the story of Elisa Lam. Elisa Lam was a young Canadian woman, full of life and ambition. She came to Los Angeles in January 2013, excited to explore California. But Elisa had her own struggles, battling depression and bipolar disorder. She was looking for a getaway, a chance to escape. But fate led her to the Cecil Hotel. This hotel wasn't your average place. With its dark history of violence, tragedy, and death, it almost seemed like it wanted to keep its guests forever. On January 31st, Elisa was last seen in the Cecil Hotel. Days passed, and her family became desperate. The police began searching, but there was no trace of her, until they discovered one thing that would haunt them forever: elevator footage from her final moments. In the footage, Elisa behaves strangely. She steps in and out of the elevator as if someone or something was following her. Her movements were erratic, pressing random buttons, looking around anxiously, even as the elevator doors stayed open, waiting, refusing to close. And then she was gone. For 2 weeks, the mystery only deepened, until guests began complaining of foul-tasting, discolored water in their rooms. Maintenance climbed to the hotel rooftop, where 4 large water tanks sat, feeding the hotel's plumbing. And there, in one of the tanks, they found her, the body of Elisa Lamb, floating lifelessly, alone. No one knows how she got up there. No one understands how she slipped inside the tank and the lid somehow closed. In the wake of her death, theories spread like wildfire. Some blamed her mental state, but others say there was something else lurking in the Cecil, something beyond this world. Did something in that hotel call to her? Or was she a victim of something darker, something lurking beyond the edge of sanity? The questions remain unanswered, and maybe they always will. But if there's one thing we know, it's that the Cecil Hotel and Elisa Lamb's final moments will forever haunt us all.